Hey, thank you, everybody. Seems like we're all strangers in the room. It's been so long since we met. But Christy, are you the one that's gonna call the roll?
Sure can. Okay, let's start with Chuck Asher,
Here.
Paul Eklund,
Here.
Colette Porter. Here. Dr. Katie Price. Okay, Ruth Valdez. Here. Belinda Armstrong.
Here.
And Junior. Or Isidore, if you'd like me to say that.
Thank you, everybody. Before we get on with the meeting business, let's reintroduce ourselves to each other. But I'm Chuck Asher. I'm retired from Community Action and from the Battle Creek Fire Department. And I'm the chair. So, Paulette?
Oh, hi. I just got a message on my phone. I'm Paulette Porter. I'm Chief Operating Officer at Carewell Services, the area agency on aging for Calhoun County and Barry, but okay.
We'll do committee members and we'll let guests introduce themselves. So, who else is it? Here comes Katie Price.
Hi. Hello.
You're not a.
No, she's not. Belinda is.
Yep.
Belinda Armstrong. I live in Springfield and I'm a Master Guard at Firekeepers.
Agent to Coshawton. Not one down at children in the past. I can't one the people think, what they can do help people in the past.
Thank you.
I'm Ruth Valdez. I'm from Albion and I taught Albion Public Schools for 35 years. And then I taught for Western Michigan University for 11 years.
Katie, you want to just,
Yeah.
We're getting reintroduced.
Sorry, late.
Okay.
Katie Price, Albion, Michigan. I'm a professor of communication studies at Albion College, and my specialty is in aging and gerontology.
Let's go around the room.
Paul.
Oh, Paul, I'm sorry. Paul, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Paul Eklund. I work with Disability Network Southwest Michigan since 2003, but I'm now going into a part-time position. I'm getting old. I'm 71 years old. And now I'm an accessibility consultant.
Thank you. So go ahead.
I'm Mary Fortney. I'm brand spanking new. I guess I can't claim that so much anymore. Mobility manager for TAC.
Didn't know that. Good. Well, welcome.
Terry Yeomans, I'm the manager for Senior Transportation Community Action.
Alicia Davis, I'm the director at the Mary Nee Birch Adult Daycare Center.
Shannon Weddle, I'm the procurement and grants manager for the TAC.
Christy Gristini, Director of Administration and Planning for TAC.
Mallory Avis, Executive Director for the Transportation Authority of Calhoun County, or TAC.
Matt McKee, manager for Marshall Dial-A-Ride.
Technical wizard.
Yeah.
Interim IT.
It's nice to hear see all the tech people. I didn't know Mary was. Congratulations. So anyway, let's get on with our business. So I'll accept a motion to approve today's agenda.
Don't move.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second,
Who was that, Paul?
Katie.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Likewise, with the approval of the September 24th, 2024 meeting.
Hard to remember. No, I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. We have a second.
Second,
So Katie.
Katie. I'm the second today.
Any discussion on the September 24th, 2024 meeting? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any communications?
No formal communications, but if you're okay with it, Mr. Chair, I would like to say some words to the LAC.
Sure.
Okay, so welcome. I know this is my first time meeting many of you on the LAC. You guys have participated in the past before we were actually required to. So I appreciate you guys doing that. You know, we've started recording our meetings, so just letting you know we're recording this meeting and we're sharing it on YouTube, trying to make sure that everything stays accessible and transparent. And you know, the public asks questions like, well, what is the LAC? And so I thought I would just take a minute to explain what the local advisory council does, what the role is. And then as you guys become more familiar with the processes and we continue to have these meetings, we can explore what other advisory capacities the LAC can participate with the TAC board. So each of you have different experiences and expertise, and going around the room hearing the introductions, I was really excited about all the different facets that we have covered here. So looking forward to what this LAC can do. Really, our January meeting, we try to focus on our annual applications for public transportation funding. And this is something that this particular LAC hasn't necessarily had to do in the past, primarily because the TAC didn't exist to apply for funds. So as of October 1st, the Transportation Authority of Calhoun County is the designated recipient of state and federal funding that previously went to the cities of Marshall and the city of Battle Creek. So now those systems fall under the Transportation Authority, and we are in the process of merging them together. So today we have fiscal year 27 on our minds, which at least we're in calendar year 26. When we do this in December, you're in calendar year 25, fiscal year 26, but application year 27, and it gets confusing. So we are talking about plans for fiscal year 2027 and our application for funding for fiscal year 27, which starts October 1st of this year. Those applications are due February, is it 15th, 16th? And so part of that application process is bringing together all of the existing transportation providers, which is Marion Birch, CIR, and Community Action Agency, and making sure that this LAC has a chance to review the accessibility plans for each of those agencies and then approve those accessibility plans. That is the primary function statutorily of the LAC. And it is part of Act 51 at the state, where the LAC has to have very specific composition and has to approve and advise the Transportation Authority on accessibility matters. And so we look to this group as we expand and grow to tell us and to provide that feedback on this is what seniors and people with disabilities are experiencing or asking for. And then when we make changes to our vehicle fleet and vehicle compositions, making sure that those changes don't adversely impact one of those populations. So as we get into the actual vehicle accessibility plan updates that are part of this application approval today, we can go over what those look like, and those agencies are here to answer questions that you guys might have about those vehicle compositions. But you know, today we're talking about the annual application and the vehicles, but I would encourage you guys to think about what other capacities you can advise the authority as it relates to access to transportation for seniors and people with disabilities. That is all. Thank you.
Any reports from officers? Open the floor to general public comment. Hearing none. Let's go on to new business. Review and take action on FY 2027 agency vehicle accessibility plan. So I guess one at a time, we'll start with community action. And like I was talking to Mallory and Christie, when I got I'm used to the old packet. When I got the new packet, which is way easier, I went, this can't be everything. But it is. And, it's way easier for us. And we will be approving the older style packet every 3 years.
Yeah.
Which has all the meat and the real information. But I personally have a question. I'll open it to everybody else. Taking community action first, and Terry's their transportation manager. On item 3, you state that you're replacing your non-lift vans with lift equipped vehicles, or so you intend to have, you still have 10 on the road?
Yep, we have 10 on the road, and the 3 of them will be past their 4-year lifespan for the state, and the 4th one will be past miles.
Mhm.
So our intention is to replace them all 4 with wheelchair lift vans, so that we'll be 100% wheelchair accessible.
That's actually pretty exciting. When I read that, I was hoping that's what that meant.
That's what it's for, yeah.
And for those of you that when he says you still replace them every 4 years or 100,000 miles, right? So
Right.
they've met those requirements. So that's pretty exciting, but that won't really impact your ride count. Of course, as your rate goes up and your funding is static, your ride count
We'll
actually
still
goes
meet our
down.
ride counts that we have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. That was my question for you. Does anybody else have a question for community action, please? On any information?
What would be a ride count?
Oh, sorry, we talked.
So the amount of rides we do per funding,
Okay. What would be like an estimate for,
a little over 21,000.
okay,
Yeah, they get $500,000 from
From the
senior
county.
village,
so 21,000 for a year?
Yeah,
Okay,
and they have specialized services with people with disability.
okay,
we also run a van for the county that we take seniors out of Calhoun County to out counties like Ann Arbor and Kalamazoo for specialty appointments.
okay, okay.
But that van's on another program.
Is that being included in this fleet or no?
It's not.
No.
Maybe you should say just who you give rides to, so everybody's clear on that.
For that out county that we started, that's for seniors. For everything else, we take seniors over 60 anywhere they want to go in Calhoun County. And we take people with disabilities anywhere they want to go in Calhoun County. And at this time, we do it for free.
And your senior account, would you say 60?
60.
Plus they'll take a caretaker if you need to,
Yeah.
if a senior needs a caretaker. Does anyone else have a question for community action? Do you want to do these all at once, or you want to do them?
And that requires we do them all individually.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And I will, for those of you who are not familiar with the form, if you look at like box 1, for example, DR stands for demand response or demand responsive, which is your door-to-door, curb-to-curb style service. That's you call like dial a ride style, you call, you book a ride, and it responds to your demand for a trip. So that box 1 where it says total DR fleet, that's your total demand responsive fleet anticipated for the application year, which is fiscal year 27. So Community Action Agency has said they'll have 10 demand responsive vehicles. And then box number 2 is basically how many of those vehicles will be accessible or lift equipped. And they've reported they anticipate 10, so 100% accessible across their fleet. Previously, with vehicles that were not accessible, MDOT could require what's called an equivalency report. So how do you show that somebody with a disability or a senior that maybe require additional support doesn't have less availability of service simply because they require a special type of vehicle to be transported? So really looking at the equity and equivalency, kind of the Title VI analysis of your vehicle composition, that's what that number 2 is looking at. And then when we look through the other questions, number 3 and number 4, asking what changes were made in number 3, and then number 4, looking at fare structure, service availability, including hours and days of service, and then service area. So in the event one of our agencies were to make changes to fare structures, hours, days, things like that, or service area, which you'll see on our application, I think we had to mark yes on all of those. That would require an explanation or further review if there was a thought that it might not be equivalent service. So if we were reducing or expanding our hours of service, ensuring that those hours of service are available to everybody equally, and that we aren't extending hours of service for only the non-accessible vehicles, for example. So just for those, because you haven't seen these forms before, making sure you all understand what we're looking at.
Thank you.
And Community Action has an approved plan from 2 years ago. And they're saying that plan has been approved and there's been no changes with the exception of replacing non-lift equipped vehicles with lift equipped vehicles. So any other questions for Community Action? I'll accept a motion to approve their vehicle accessibility plan, VAP.
So moved.
Katie?
Sorry, so moved.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paul. Did you have any questions?
No, just second the motion.
Have any further discussion on Community Action? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. No, CIR, do we have someone here from CIR?
We do not, but I can provide a kind of an overview of their form here.
Okay,
So for those of you who aren't familiar with CIR, Community Inclusive Recreation, they provide transportation primarily to individuals with disabilities and program participants. So those individuals with disabilities who participate in their employment, education, or recreational programs utilize their services for transportation. They have a fleet of vehicles that are funded through the Michigan Department of Transportation, and they are part of our subrecipient group like Community Action is. Their report is anticipated 6 vehicles in their fleets, and all 6 of those being lift equipped or accessible. They do not have any proposed changes to vehicle inventory, such as reducing or increasing the number of vehicles, and then they did not indicate any changes to fare structure or service availability.
okay. Does anybody have any questions about CIR's vehicle accessibility plan? Update? Seeing none, I'll accept the motion to approve their vehicle accessibility plan.
Don't move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Community Inclusive Recreation's vehicle accessibility plan. Any discussion, Paul? Any discussion?
No?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Now we go on to, we gotta learn these forms. Marion Birch, there it is. And Alicia's here from Marion Birch. You wanna give us an overview of?
So we too are in the realm of our accessibility plan being reviewed and approved. We currently have 8 vehicles. They're all accessible. We did have an inventory of 10, but in September, we did dispose of 2 vehicles. They were CDL size, which they met the useful life, so they were eligible for us to dispose of. So we will be requesting funding through the Michigan Department of Transportation to replace those 2 vehicles. And we currently provide service for those that are enrolled in our program. We reopened 3 years ago. Our census continued to increase each year. We provided about 6,500 one-way rides in 2025 and probably an estimate about 60,000 miles that we put on the vehicles that we had. So we currently continue just to grow and provide those services for folks 60 and older that reside in Calhoun County and persons with disabilities in our program.
So you'll be ordering 2 more.
We're requesting funding to purchase 2 more to
CDLs.
replace,
They're,
not CDL. We feel it's in our best interest because it's harder to hire CDL drivers. We feel it's in our best interest to stay within probably like a 12-seat vehicle. It's just easier to hire staff with a chauffeur's license than it is a CDL. But the demand, we are operating and using all of our vehicles to the fullest that we have right now. So it would be in our best interest to replace those other 2 vehicles we disposed of. So we have backup if there is a vehicle in service and not operational during inspections or anything like that.
okay. Anybody else have questions for Alicia and Marion Birch? Seeing none, accept the motion to approve their vehicle accessibility plan.
I move to approve. Paulette.
Second, Katie.
Any further discussion? Here's Paul.
No?
You hear us?
Pardon?
You hearing us okay?
Yeah. Yep.
Just making sure. We're at discussion right now. Okay, so all in favor of approving Marion Birch's plan, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that's approved. Now we'll go to the. You want to go ahead and
Yeah.
give us an overview?
Sure. So Transportation Authority of Calhoun County, for fiscal year 27, we are anticipating a fleet of 28 demand responsive vehicles, all 28 of those being lift equipped or accessible. We do not have plans to expand our fleet with non-accessible vehicles. I think even if we looked at SUVs, we would ensure that they were lift equipped or ramp equipped. We have changed from cutaway style vehicles to a combination of minivans and full-size vans, as well as low floor cutaways. So your traditional cutaway has a ramp, a lift that the driver deploys, the individual uses the lift, it raises them into the air, and then the driver pulls the individual onto the vehicle. We have transitioned to the majority of our fleet being ramps now instead of lifts. One, for passenger comfort to not have to be hoisted into the air. And then 2, for maintenance and not having to cycle through lifts or have a vehicle out of service because a lift has failed. We've had relatively good success with that. One of the, full transparency, one of the issues we've run into is that the ramps, although ADA size, are slightly smaller than some of the lifts have been. And so we're encountering passengers with mobility devices that we're struggling to fit the chair in the ramp. And so we're working with our maintenance team on what we can do, but also those vehicles were ordered off of the state contract. And so is there anything that we can do with MDOT to ensure that future vehicle orders don't necessarily adhere so strictly to ADA? We can exceed ADA standards. We don't have to meet the bare minimum. So that's where we're at right now, with still 100% of our fleet remaining accessible on all modes. So we have our 3 modes being RC Max, which is the fixed route bus, RC Move, which is the paratransit service, and then RC Flex, which is your door-to-door on-demand style service.
Could you say those slower again?
Sorry. Yes.
RC, how fast you're talking.
RC Max is the fixed route bus. RC Move is the complimentary paratransit service, which mirrors the boundaries of the fixed route service. And then RC Flex is the on-demand that will serve the 4 cities. So that's gonna, if you're familiar with BC Go, that RC Flex service is replacing BC Go. We are increasing the size of our fleet. So previously as Battle Creek Transit, we had a smaller on-demand or demand responsive fleet. Now that we are the transportation authority, we're bringing Marshall Dial-A-Ride's assets as well as Battle Creek Transit's assets all under one umbrella. And then we have a grant right now to order 6 additional vehicles. So that is included in this figure of the 28. We continue to expand. So as we continue to get grant funding, or we're successful with local partnerships to receive additional vehicles, that number could increase as the vehicle accessibility plan kind of evolves. For the changes to some of the service statistics, I'll start with fare structure. So part of bringing together 2 different systems is that we also have multiple fare structures under those 2 systems. And so Marshall Dial-A-Ride, for example, had one fare for, within the city of Marshall, and then there was a separate fare for the Albion-Marshall connector. The city of Battle Creek had one fare for what was previously called Teletransit. And then we had a separate fare for BC Go, which ran countywide and was mileage based. So not only were the ways of calculating the fare different, but none of them were even the same for us to be able to just pick a flat fare. So we are in the process right now of obtaining public input and feedback on a revised fare structure, trying to unify all of those different fare systems and fare structures that existed before under one, so that it's one fare, people clearly understand what they're going to be paying as they make that trip. One of the things we are weighing through right now is reduced fare versus general fare, and meeting legislative intent of achieving a specific fare box recovery, but also meeting public interest of having a low fare. So we're working through what that looks like. The TAC does have a public hearing scheduled for January 27th, I believe it is, here in Marshall at 9 a.m. To take public feedback. A decision will not be made at that meeting. That is just a public hearing for people to be able to provide feedback and express their voice on what we are proposing to change. We anticipate that change likely taking place sometime during fiscal year 26 as we are implementing new technology. So if that technology gets pushed to fiscal year 27, then we may push that fare change back to fiscal year 27, but working through what that looks like. And if your respective populations wish to provide input, they can do that electronically. We're taking social media comments, emails, phone calls, or obviously attendance at that public hearing.
Is there something that you have like on the website or whatever that we can send out to our folks?
Yes, so we are working on publishing the public notice right now that will have the proposed fare schedule that you can actually see as kind of an infographic.
I read some stuff the other night on their website that spoke a little bit where they're at with the fares right now.
Yeah, I'd like to have something that, would tell our folks not only that information, but when the hearing is or how to provide the feedback.
Yes. And we're working with the communications team to be able to do like a 1-pager that includes even some frequently asked questions, like why is the fare changing?
So I have a question that's related to fares. Is that, as part of accessibility, is that something that this committee will review and approve at some point? A fare structure?
It is something that they could definitely advise the board on. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
When you talk about a website, do you mean this ridecalhoun.org?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Are there any other questions on the fare structure piece? Okay, I'll go on to B, the service area information. Obviously, that has changed as well. Previously, Battle Creek Transit served only the city of Battle Creek. Marshall Dial-A-Ride served only the city of Marshall, with the exception of the Albion-Marshall connector. Now we serve 4 cities. So we are expanding our service area to include the cities of Albion, Battle Creek, Marshall, and Springfield, with connectivity within and between those 4 cities. The one question we get all the time is, well, what about the townships in between? And unfortunately, they opted out. They can choose to opt in at a later date. They can choose to contract for service. But the good news is we have some historical data that shows the individuals who are using that service will be able to communicate with them when that is sunsetting or when they're going to begin seeing changes to the BC Go services that they're currently getting, as we kind of reel that back into now what is essentially the millage approved boundaries. So right now, we're still running that BC Go countywide pilot, but once those funds are fully expended, which we anticipate to be probably the next 6 months or sooner, that boundary, that service boundary, will be brought into the city limits of each of those 4 cities. Letter C, the service availability information. We now have a website, ridecalhoun.org. We post all of our public notices on there, as well as information, service updates. You'll be able to, if you were to go to ridecalhoun.org, you can see the 3 different modes of service. And then as we introduce new technology, you'll also be able to schedule rides and manage your trips through the website, as well as an app. So we are in the process of creating those things all now under the authority. And then D is the service hours and days of operation. And years ago now, probably 2 or 3 years ago, we significantly cut service. I think Marshall was in the same boat. Hours and days of service were reduced, primarily to Monday through Friday. For the city of Marshall, what are you at right now, Matt?
8:30 to 3:30.
8:30 to 3:30. And in the city of Battle Creek, we're 5:15 to 4 o'clock-ish. Our demand responsive service runs until 7:30 p.m. That is cut back from what used to be until midnight, as well as having Saturday service. We have never had Sunday service. I don't know if historically Marshall ever had Sunday service, but they had limited Saturday service. And so as we continue to hire new staff, as we continue to move through the transition to the authority, we are kind of taking small bites out of that elephant at a time, where we're focusing on hours of service, so increasing the hours of availability, and then we'll start tackling days of the week. I think sometimes what people forget is that it's not just vehicles and drivers, but if I have vehicles and drivers out on the road, I also need to ensure that I have a maintenance team available or on call. I need dispatchers and then obviously supervisors to be able to run operations for those extended hours and extended days. So it's not just a driver issue, it's a fully operational process in extending those hours of service, and then an even bigger challenge to extend those days of the week. But we expect that by fiscal year 27, which is this application approval, we will have both additional days and additional hours of service from what exists today. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer. Yes.
I didn't hear any questions for Mallory on the service part, or any questions on any other part of their accessibility plan. Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the city, or, sorry.
It's gonna be a hard habit to break.
The Transportation Authority of Calhoun County's vehicle accessibility plan.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Right.
Opposed? Okay. And I assume we don't have any other. Except for meeting schedule of next year.
Yeah, I'll preface and then let you guys decide. So the for the 2026 meeting schedule, as noted by the previous meeting minutes, the last time this LAC met was September of 2024. Now, because there wasn't any action to be taken, the LAC wasn't required to meet. Now that we are officially designated, the LAC is required to meet at least once annually, and that's to review and approve the vehicle accessibility plan. We have put kind of a placeholder on the agenda for now that the LAC would meet 3 times a year, being January for that vehicle accessibility plan review, May, mid-year, and then September, right before we start the next fiscal year. If you guys would like to propose a more frequent meeting schedule, you can do that. If you would like to propose a less frequent meeting schedule, as long as you meet annually in January, that you can do that as well. But that is your decision to make. And we will schedule whatever that looks like for you guys.
Well,
Well, for me, I guess it depends on the TAC and what they want our feedback on.
Mhm.
I mean, that would, I don't know how we could really drive that unless we kind of know what kind of feedback they need or we need to put forward.
Historically, LAC, the old city LAC would schedule meetings and then would cancel them if we
Right.
didn't need to meet. So I'm kind of the mind that as TAC develops, we might need to meet more frequently
Right.
in the first year. So I'm comfortable with the 3 meetings. But that's just me. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Well, I like the idea of scheduling the 3, and then if we have to cancel one, so people have a schedule.
Right, or add more.
Or that, yeah.
You guys could say, hey, you know what, we need to have a special meeting on whatever.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, who knows what this fair discussion is gonna lead to. And
Right.
we may have to.
Yeah.
May have to have some discussions about that. So,
Is there a day that works better for the group?
A day of the week.
Yeah.
it's more, for me, it's more the time of day. 3 o'clock works almost any day of the week for me. So my busy schedule being retired.
Well, and that, without making it all about me, we were talking, I am gonna be retiring from the Area Agency on Aging in July. And I don't live in the county. So as a result, we'll have to think about that too, on what we do about someone who's appointed by the AAA and.
And then by the TAC,
Right,
and then by the county.
so that kind of comes into play
The
too.
county doesn't have to approve them, but the TAC board would.
Yeah. And how you want that to play in, you want that before? I mean, I could still come to the September one or make a transition if that's easier, you know what I mean? It just depends on what you want, because someone new coming into it in September, they'd be a little bewildered and befuddled.
Yes. Yes. And then we would just have to make sure that the Area Agency on Aging has somebody formally appointed before that January meeting next year.
Right, but
Yeah.
that's a catalyst from the TAC.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't do anything till the TAC approaches.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I already got it all lined up on my end.
I love it.
Yep. And vice chair too.
Oh, yeah. Is that what I am?
Yeah.
I'm glad you always show up.
Man, I'm the next meeting.
Better go out on top.
But speaking of that, if we come to July, you say July, and we come to that September meeting and we haven't selected someone to replace Paula, can she take action on anything? That's kind of a TAC legal question.
I don't believe she would be able to.
Alright.
So, the state requires that the Area Agency on Aging appoint an individual to represent the Area Agency on Aging.
Something just dawned on me though. I mean, I'm right now weighing whether to choose, I'm still gonna work for them, but not be chief operating officer. And work not 100 hours a week, I would work like 2. But, so I will either be a W-2 employee or a consultant for them to transition out. So I think it just dawned on me right now, so maybe it would still work through the September.
Even if she's say a contractor?
Yep. If they still designate her, or they haven't, I guess, replaced her designation,
Right.
then she would still be
I
able
guess
to.
Paul's in the same boat, so the
Mhm.
same thing applies to Paul, and Paul's
Yeah.
here, so,
Right.
so.
I just want to be respectful of your all's needs, you know, so.
Yes, the
Okay.
legislation does specifically call out a representative designated by the area agency on aging.
Right.
So I think you could do that in any capacity, whether as directly employed or subcontracted representative.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, well, back to meetings. 3 meetings look good for everybody?
I think it looks good. And then, you know, depending on what's going on, we add or subtract.
Do these months look good?
If we're gonna meet in May, could I make a request?
Yeah.
Could it be the first week of May? Cause I'm gonna be out of the country basically the rest of the month.
Do we want to set the dates right now, or do
If you guys know availability, I would love that.
Or if there's dates you know that we should avoid.
Yeah.
we, December 24th? I don't know, does anybody have, I guess, trips planned or anything? Do we want to keep them all the first week of the month, and then not for you?
No, I won't, well, but see, that's the thing, I hate to hold everybody up. I won't be available the first part of September.
I think we're always gonna run into somebody that.
Mhm. Yeah, so I wouldn't do it around me.
I can always send a poll too.
Oh, yeah,
if
do
that
it.
helps.
Do that, yeah, do
Do a
that.
poll.
Yeah.
Okay.
What do they call those?
A doodle poll?
Yeah, do that. And we'll see what works best for the most people. So do we want a motion to have 3 meetings in 2026 in January, May, and September with the dates, times, and location to be determined? Is that the motion?
So moved.
You, Paul?
Second,
Yeah,
it was Katie. Sorry.
I'm hearing it.
Number 2.
I keep
Number
looking at
2.
Mary going. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
I,
Opposed, none, so that's what we'll do, January, May, and September, and we'll be, how soon will we get that poll?
I can do it this week.
Okay. So the announcement is the next meeting will be, depending on the poll, will be in May. And any community, or sorry, committee member comments? Hearing none, thank you, everybody.
Well, before we adjourn, I did get an update in email by Rhonda from CIR. I wanted to provide that to you guys real quick. She apologizes that she couldn't be here. She did plan to attend today, but she is actually very ill. So we send her our best, but she said CIR is doing well. They just began their new semester. They have 311 people signed up for weekly programming and rides to support employment and pre-vocational programs. They have 72 rides per week of the 311 that they're doing. They also have individuals signed up for other community events. They have 108 in Q1 of this 2026, and they have 138 in Q2. They also have monthly programming, which is 119. And then she did say that they do have one bus that is currently down due to engine issues that they're having, but they've still been able to meet all of their needs and obligations that they have right now. So it sounds like they're pretty busy over there.
Thank you. So everybody watch yourself on YouTube as soon as it's posted. I guess we're adjourned. See you, Paul.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.